The latest numbers from the Department of Veterans Affairs suggest military suicides are down to an average of 17 a day across the country. A symbol of this ongoing crisis received a rare honor at another state capital, but that Marine grew up right here in East Tennessee.
Other than the baby picture, this was about the earliest picture I saw of my son.
1,417 days after this loving father lost his Marine son to suicide, the pain sears like it was yesterday.
Timothy Brandon Lay, a dedicated Marine, a selfless volunteer, a loving friend. Those words best describe my son.
Brandon was an All-American boy who grew up in East Tennessee.
And he loved to go out with his dog in the woods. He played in the Oak Ridge system of boys club, of football and baseball.
Up for athletics and adventure, Brandon seemed destined to join the military.
When you say the term volunteer, my son exemplified that.
Following the terror attacks on 9/11, Brandon Lay earned the title Marine, excelling in training and winning praise for his leadership during 2 combat deployments to Afghanistan. The combat engineer served at the tip of the spear, uncovering buried bombs meant for fellow Americans.
I remember Brandon saying every day he was wondering if it'd be his last breath. Although he left the battlefield, John, the battlefield in his mind never left him. The demons haunted him day and night. I remember him telling me, "Dad, I wish I could have a good night's sleep. Dad, how come I can't be normal again?" What's Dad to say?
During the decade after his military service, this Marine tried to work through his own demons by devoting his days to helping others.
Helping young men without dads. Going out trying to help veterans that were on the street, trying to find lodging, apartments, jobs, counseling, training.
A Big Brother mentor, an advocate for PTSD therapy. Stateside as a civilian, Brandon worked with a host of charities to serve other people struggling, especially his brothers and sisters in uniform.
Your son would always go up to a veteran. He'd say, "I'm not here to judge you. I just want to help you." They don't want pity. They don't want pity. But they're dealing with that turmoil inside that to some never goes away.
The kinship and trust Brandon earned with so many in his new home state of Iowa drew the attention of everyday people and powerful politicians, becoming a symbol of service and resilience. It sounds like your son was doing all the right things. He was getting some counseling, he was engaged, he was making plans in his life, and yet we still failed him. How did we fail him?
Don't think, John, that I don't bear a big burden to that, knowing that I wish I could have done more for my son. I wish the government would have done more for my son. I wish the military would have done more for my son.
Prescription drugs masked the pain, but Brandon also hid his own struggles, and it's why the shock of his suicide stirred so many public tributes.
There's such a deep sense of loss right now in our community.
Television coverage, permanent memorials. The 36-year-old Marine was even honored with a rare memorial in the Capitol Rotunda, reserved for a handful of statesmen and extended to a Marine combat veteran.
Only 3 people had ever had that honor. The 2 former ones were former governors, and Brandon was a third. He was working on his graduate degree, and the degree was for counseling, psychology, to try to make him a better counselor.
This grieving father wants to counsel other veterans and their families to avoid isolation and seek help.
You men that have seen the ravages of war, it is common. Admit it and go seek help. There are avenues out there that are wanting to help you, but you've got to go open the door.
Keith Lay misses his son dearly.
John, I had called him that morning,
But he is opening up about Brandon's suicide in an effort to spare others from suffering the same loss.
We don't want to emphasize him as much as the need for these other men, because other moms and dads have sons and daughters going through the same thing, John. We've got to get them some help and not forsake them.
We want to show you this suicide hotline. You can call or text 988 and press 1. It is open to veterans and their families.